Hello, I'm Peter Schaknat, the Managing Director of Schaknat Electronic GmbH. Today we're optimizing a Scania S650. As you can see, we have a beautiful Scania here today, great color. You can see it up front as well, a gorgeous vehicle, bull bar attached, nice light bar. Today we have a 650S here, a DC16 V8 engine with 3,300 Newton meters in its original state with a TMS2 transmission. Today we want to optimize both the engine and the transmission, again using our Schaknat app. The customer owns several of these V8 vehicles. And he pretty much always drives the same route, and he made it very clear that this truck, on average, consumes 3 liters more. They've already checked the technology, and the workshop has looked to see if anything is broken on the truck, but basically nothing unusual was found. That's also the great thing about our performance database. We can, for example, use it to carry out diagnostic work like this. The customer said that in terms of performance, the vehicle is completely sufficient. Here it is specifically about fuel optimization. In order to reduce overall fuel consumption, we will also adjust the shifting behavior, and we will accomplish that through our dedicated app. As you know, of course, we can store your own individual settings in the app, particularly when it comes to fuel-related topics. You can see here, we're measuring the rear axle because the truck has a test bench mode. We've clamped it in at the back again as well. The traction is really impressive on the Scanias. You can brake them very smoothly so that you can accurately measure the traction against the brake with only a minimal amount of torque offset, and that allows you to measure the traction exceptionally well. The other colleague will also strap it down at the back again. He'll secure it properly at the rear so that we have traction. So I'd say let's take a look at the initial measurement. Maybe we can see from the input power. We'll check if what the driver says is confirmed, whether you can spot any drop in the torque curve. Then we'll just take a look at it on the TV. We've now completed the initial measurement. Let's just quickly review it together. So just as the driver described, who mentioned that the car sometimes feels a little bit sluggish or has noticeable power fluctuations on hills, that is exactly what has been confirmed here today. I'll show you the diagram again really quickly. Here you can see the RPM axis at the bottom, and up here this is the horsepower axis. Here you see the torque axis. Down here we have the torque values. We specifically measured the 10th and 11th gear, so you can see the differences here to show what the individual gears mean in terms of torque differences. You can see in 10th gear we have 603 horsepower and 3,157 Newton meters of torque. As you know, you're supposed to have 650 horsepower and 3,300 Newton meters of torque. In 11th gear it has a torque of just about 3,248 Newton meters, which is getting close. However, we're still only at 610 horsepower, so the expected peak power is simply not being achieved. As you may know, these Scania engines normally have their peak power readily available, but this particular issue seems to be due to the sensors. I've already read out the data from them, and now I'm going to proceed with calibrating the sensors as well. It's especially important with this modern Euro 6 standard that all of the individual sensors really work well together in harmony to get an accurate reading. So whether it's intake, air temperature, boost pressure, differential pressure sensors, lambda correction, if any of those values are out of range, it can of course happen that the truck picks up incorrect values and the fuel consumption suddenly spikes. But that's why we have it here. We're now going to optimize the truck completely again using the app. I'll say the input values for the torque, I'd say it's actually okay now, but as mentioned, it just doesn't have the peak power. And those are exactly the things the driver mentioned, that especially at the top end, in the higher RPM ranges, as we can see here in the diagram. So I just wanted to quickly show at the top so people understand the upper curve here is the horsepower, the kilowatt output. So as you can see, it reaches its maximum peak power at around 1800, 1850. Alright, then I'd say let's flash it via the app. We'll parameterize the transmission for that, and then we'll take another look at the output power. This is the driver, Wolfgang, the driver of this beautiful car. I'll just quickly explain the app to him now. So Wolfgang, always the same principle. First you turn on the Xeno, then you plug the adapter into the OBD port. We'll do that right here now. Do it gently, not forcefully. Now you see it's starting to blink blue here, and now it's searching for it on the phone. So now you go ahead and open our app. See, the latest update has everything on it. Now you go to the brand, scanner, then open the adapter settings. Exactly. Go to Bluetooth. The whole system runs via Bluetooth, exactly. And at the bottom, it has already found it. At the top, the left, MX. Now it's pairing, and now you can go back up here in the app. And now it's already retrieving the data. So the nice thing about the app is I've already saved that for you. We've now read out the data from my truck. I've saved both an eco and a power variant for you, for the engine and for the transmission. We also needed another update in the app. You can also read out the error memory up here. It's always quite useful too, if you're on the road and have a problem, you can read out your error memory. But for us, that's not really relevant. What is interesting for us is, I spoke with the boss, mainly he's a die-hard Scania fan. Now we're going to the engine control. Now you see you have Flash Original, Flash Eco Optimization and Flash Power Optimization. Obviously we want the Eco Optimization. Right, exactly. We want to optimize it. Now it's running through. Now you'll hear it in a moment. The lights will come on and you'll hear the blue unit. While it's programming, make sure you don't do anything else during that time. Don't take any phone calls, don't drop your phone, don't do anything silly. So we'll just let it run through now. As I said, you already know the other explanatory videos about the app. We've shown them countless times and you can watch them on YouTube if you like. Now we'll flash it together. We'll also finish the training for the driver and then we'll see each other again for the baseline measurement. So Wolfgang, we've now measured the baseline performance with several measurements. You can see that if you look briefly over here on the left, I'll just quickly explain it again now. Yes. In the meantime, with the seat positioned right here, we completed all the necessary measurements as well. I also made sure to calibrate the sensors with the diagnostics, and now we'll take a closer look at the two important curves just as we sent them out in the standard Eco version. Yes. You can see here you have your original torque, and here again we have the RPM range from 1000 to 2200 revolutions. Here again we have the horsepower, which is quite interesting and important for us. And as I said, here is the torque axis. So you see here, you originally have these 610 horsepower and 3250 Newton meters. So as we already said, the initial torque almost matched, but the peak power doesn't fit. So this is likely also confirmed by the sensor issues we discussed. I have since recalibrated everything again. And then I went ahead and did the output measurement. And as you can clearly see, the torque is now like a perfectly straight line, which is just perfect. We don't have too much torque. We now have 743 horsepower and just under 3,500 Newton meters of torque. That's optimal for the engine, especially when you're accelerating hard or going into the mountains and downshifting. You can see up here, it has its maximum torque, almost up to 1,600. So I'd say from 900 to 1,600, it's fully in the power band. And of course you notice that you can upshift early, you have to make use of the torque at low revs, and that way you also save a lot on fuel. We also have the power variant, which we could also flash. You can test that yourself in the app. I also sometimes have customers who say they actually save even more fuel with the power variant, also depending on the transmission, but you can test that yourself. But as I said, just to try it out, we are going to go with the Eco variant for now. As far as torque goes, I'm completely satisfied. So that is how we have presented the figures, and as I mentioned today, it is truly a beautiful truck. Yes, thank you very much. I also have the application here. We covered that in the training where I explained to you how to program it. Here again is our world-famous Hugo Boss air freshener for our customers. Thank you very much. It was great having you here. As I said, if you have any questions, feel free to call anytime and we'll see each other again. Keep in touch. Thanks. Take care. Bye. We have reached the end of our video again. As you saw with our specialized test bench, we can also use it for performing diagnostics during regular operation. You saw it clearly from the diagram. It is really possible to determine if the trucks have any performance issues and then actually make specific diagnoses based on that information. You know yourselves, the new trucks are becoming more and more sensitive and the Euro standards are getting stricter and stricter. That's why I always say it's becoming increasingly important to test things like this, because trucks often behave differently in the mountains, and then when they go to the workshop can't even make a diagnosis simply because they can't find anything wrong at that moment. So, as I said, you could clearly see what the driver was already complaining about, and you can see it one-to-one on the test bench, and that's how you get to the bottom of it. You can address it specifically. As I said, once again, it's a beautiful truck, and it was a real pleasure to measure it today. Again, as I said, thanks to my team for always supporting us so well. If you're interested in this topic, engine and transmission optimization for the Scania S650, feel free to check out our website at www.schaknat.de. You can call us, send us a WhatsApp message, or write us an email. We're happy to give you personal advice over the phone. As I said, thank you very much for tuning in. See you next time. Thank you. Ciao.